A bunch of tight ends and Cooper Kupp to that side, leading the way for Gurley, who gets the handoff and hammers it in. Touchdown, Todd Gurley. Touchdown, L.A.
ESPN LA 710 on the Call Sports Center on Golic and Wingo. I'm Jason Fitz. The Rams finally got their stud running back going under the lights last night. Todd Gurley notched season highs in touches and scrimmage yards en route to a 17-7 win for the 6-4 Rams. Bears quarterback Mitch Trubisky was pulled in the fourth quarter after a hip injury worsened throughout the game. The Bears fall to 4-6. In the NBA, with Kobe Bryant sitting courtside, LeBron James and the Lakers beat Trey Young and the Hawks 122-101. LeBron finished with 33 points, 12 assists, marking his fifth straight game with at least 10 assists, tied for the longest streak in his career. And at 11-2, the Lakers own the best record in the NBA. Back to the NFL. Week 11 wraps up tonight. The Chiefs and the Chargers on Monday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, live on ESPN from Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. Patrick Mahomes had 6 touchdown passes his last time out on a Monday Night Football game, and this time first place is on the line in the AFC West. The Chiefs remain in first with a win, while if the Chargers win, the Raiders take over first place. You're welcome, America.
My God. Felt good to get that one out there, didn't it?
I mean, I'm saying the Raiders in first place in the same sentence this late in November. God.
Tommy just sold 500,000 brake pads. SportsCenter is brought to you by Pennzoil. Don't let winter boss around your car's engine. Use Pennzoil synthetic motor oil for natural gas, not crude oil. Gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil, based on Sequence 4A wear testing using SAE 5W30.
I've been ready for 3 years. I've been denied for 3 years. We all know why. I came out here, showed it today in front of everybody. We have nothing to hide.
I've talked to all 32 teams. I've reached out to them recently, and none of them have had any interest.
So we're waiting for the 32 owners, the 32 teams, Roger Goodell, all of them to stop running. Stop running from the truth. Stop running from the people.
He's been telling everyone he's in shape. Now everyone gets to see it. Well, that's what we wanted to do at the Falcons facility, and they said no.
Ball's in their court. We're ready to go.
Oh, there's a lot to get into. Oh, boy. Golic and Wingo with you, presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes it easier to compare quotes and get a great rate with the Home Quote Explorer only at Progressive.com. So getting a quote from Progressive is easy. Nothing about this Colin Kaepernick story and this Colin Kaepernick situation is easy in any way, shape, or form. So to recap, in case you missed it, Colin Kaepernick did work out Saturday. Just not the way the NFL had envisioned and in front of far fewer teams, because of a million different things that got in the way that probably both sides should have figured out ahead of time before they even decided to dive into this pool, which we'll get into all of that. But here's the deal. If you didn't miss it, if you weren't watching it with everything else that was going on Saturday, Colin Kaepernick was set to work out at the Falcons facility in Atlanta in front of 25 representatives from NFL teams. But hours before that was supposed to happen, Colin let the NFL know he wasn't going to do that, and instead he moved his workout to a different place an hour away from the Falcons facility in Georgia, and I think only 7 representatives showed up. And among the myriad of things that were problematic for Colin Kaepernick, one, the NFL wanted him to sign a waiver that he didn't want to sign. There was going to be no media availability or people filming the workout to see Colin Kaepernick work out. And as Charles Robinson accurately predicted, by the way, when he was on with Spain and Company from Yahoo Sports, this thing wasn't going to happen, the NFL workout. He was right. It didn't. It fell apart. Instead, Colin had his own workout in front of far fewer people that was available and was streamed live on YouTube so everybody could see. And nothing was accomplished on either side.
Nothing was. I mean, before this and to after this, Colin Kaepernick, people that are on his side all think he did the right thing. And the Colin Kaepernick detractor said he blew any chance he had to play football. So ultimately, we're going to get to that question. Quickly, my take, but everybody's given a take. And I think for a lot of people who, if you can be unbiased on this, see both sides at fault here.
100 million percent.
For the NFL, and I'm just talking about this situation because I can go all the way back, and as I said, for each team to not have the guts to bring him individually if you wanted to work him out, that was on the NFL. And then, oh, by the way, during the last 3 years, Colin Kaepernick, who was pretty tight with Nike, they shot a commercial for and everything. If he wanted to, he could have set up a workout on his own and saw if anybody wanted to show up for it. So both sides could have done that. So we move on from that, and we get to this. From the NFL side, this whole thing should have been buttoned up before they even made the announcement there was going to be a workout.
Correct.
Waivers signed, who was running it, who were going to be the receivers. All that minutia should have been done before anything ever came out. It wasn't. It turned into a fiasco. And then you get to the Colin Kaepernick side, and the bottom line of all this thing is there's no trust. There's no trust on either side of this, especially on Colin's side to the NFL. So he had, I guess that turns out, Mike, at the end of the day, to be after both sides at fault here and all this hoopla that went on. My question is, does Colin Kaepernick really want to play football? If he was so invested in saying, I've been working out for the last 3 years playing football, work out in front of 25 teams. Work out in front of 25 teams. You are going to be signed as a backup if you're signed at all, and I don't think you're going to be signed. You, unfortunately, as much as everybody's applauding you taking over the narrative, cost yourself. If your goal was to play football, in my opinion, you cost yourself by not performing in front of 25 teams, having them videotape it, but there was a lack of trust there, and he wanted to control the narrative. Congratulations. You control the narrative, and then you basically said the NFL was stop running scared afterward, and I don't think there is a team out there that is going to bring you in or sign you. That's my opinion on this, and if that was his goal, I think he hurt himself in trying to achieve that goal.
Well, he did. So I look at this and objectively say, yeah, if we were talking about this and you removed all of the past history of what had happened and said, just in this situation, which one of these opportunities gives you the best chance to play football going forward? It's 1,000% working at that Falcons facility.
Part of it is a no-brainer.
That part of it is a no-brainer. The part that's difficult for me is the trust behind it. Like, we could say, yeah, he cost himself. Well, all of the things that led up to it. So there was dispute about the language in the waiver that they were going to have him sign. There was dispute about the presence of outside cameras from his group that wanted to film this workout, so the NFL wasn't the only people involved. Because as much as we all want to sit here and say, and what's the chorus been for us since we started talking about this, which is, this isn't about Colin Kaepernick's ability to play football.
No, absolutely not.
It is one thing for us to say that, but the prevailing thought process when we went through the initial round in the last 3 years of take garbage was a lot of people questioning Colin's ability. Even as it's gotten rehashed, people have still brought up Colin's record as a starter back in 2000 and whatever it was with the 49ers, still brought up some deficiencies about his game. So it leaks out there in ways enough that make it a relevant topic of conversation. And if I'm the guy that just got through, if I try and put myself on Colin's side as best I can in this and say I'm the guy that just got through suing the league, I'm the guy who has heard people talk about my ability is the issue here. And now they want me to go through a workout where, again, because this was not a workout the way we normally see on Tuesdays, and it wasn't quite a pro day. I don't know what it is. Because in both scenarios, pro days we see filmed all the time, workouts we know are not filmed. This is somewhere in the middle, and that's partly by the NFL's own creation. So if I look at all of this and say, all right, I'm the guy who has had all these issues with the league, and now I'm going to trust them to not slander my ability when they're the only people with the footage and the only people with the access inside that. I can see, if I'm looking at this and trying to game this from his perspective as best I can say, yeah, I can see how that would make me very uncomfortable.
I understand all of that, and I can understand his thought process behind it. But Mike Sr., to your point, if this was about him wanting to prove he could be a part of the NFL, he did the one thing that assured that probably won't happen. Because what is the one thing everyone has said? Most people, there have been some people who have been concerned about his game, but let's be clear, he's one of the top 64 quarterbacks available to play in the NFL. That's not a debate. You can have deficiencies in your game. Just look at some of the stiffs we've been throwing out there.
But I'll get to a point about that in a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So let's take that out of it. He's not coming in to be your starting quarterback. He's coming in to be your backup.
100%.
And the whole thing started because people were concerned about him being disruptive with the protest, which he said he wasn't going to do anymore. Well, he said that since March of 2017 when he opted out of his contract with the 49ers. He wasn't going to do that anymore. So for all those people that had concerns about what he was going to be if you signed him, all you did was give them all the ammunition they wanted with the way this was handled. And that is the unfortunate thing for me in seeing this, is because you made it less about your ability and more about everything else by doing it the way you did it. And that's the one thing that's kept you out of the league.
At some point, you can't control the narrative. There are rarely people that go in for a job interview that control the entire narrative.
Correct.
And then you go to the next level of, and we've all know this, we all agree with this, I think, the greater the talent you have, the more leverage or control of narrative maybe you can have. Because for those that are saying, well, he's good enough to play in the NFL. Yes, he is good enough to play in the NFL. But going back to the numbers, which you can do, the last time he was on the field, his numbers were a little bit above the average backup. Okay? So here's the point I'm going to make about that. So does that give you the leverage to then do what you did to control the narrative, or at some point just say, you know what? I want to play in the NFL. I'm going to go perform in front of 25 scouts there and make them have to bring me in because I'm going to perform so well. Because the other side of it is are people that are going to say, well, he's good enough to play in the NL. Yes, but he's not a star, and he can't control it like this. Because you know who, after all is said and done, a guy we take shots at all the time, deservedly so, but a guy who, as soon as it's decided by the NFL what his punishment is, a team is going to sign him, it's Antonio Brown. You know why? Because Antonio Brown is 100 times the player Colin Kaepernick is. Antonio Brown was on a path going to Hall of Fame play. So Antonio Brown, once that situation gets figured out, he's going to be signed somewhere because he's going to be worth it to somebody. Colin Kaepernick, to the teams, they're going to say, you know what? Backup quarterback? Not really worth what just went on here. We pass. See you later.
Well, it's also people judge the issue that is at the heart of Colin's fight with all this and the reason for his unemployment much harsher than they do any violence against women or anything like that. Like, that's been made abundantly clear.
And that could be complete. You could hate that, but they can do it.
I understand they can do it, but I'm just saying part of it, the heart of it is our own weird skewed morality as a public and as the people that consume all this. Yeah. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that's wrong in my mind.
I think we all think it's wrong.
Yeah,
completely
that part of it's wrong. And again, you're right. Like, what this situation required, because as we've said, the NFL bungled plenty on their side. The difference is when you're the establishment that controls all the gateways, you get to do that. And so this would have been on Colin to basically swallow pride and do this. But the difference even with that, and the tough part is yes, that would have given Colin 100% the best chance to go get signed. But what if in his mind that's not the way he sees it? Because again, he looks at that and says, this is a closed door workout where all of the people that have just been, in my mind, again, if I'm Colin Kaepernick, I'm saying these people in my mind have been colluding to keep me out of the NFL for the last 3 years.
Although you can't prove that.
No, but I'm saying, this is Colin's mind. In Colin's mind, he's saying these people have been trying to keep me out of the NFL for the last 3 years. I am going to go into a workout facility where they control all of the information that gets out about me. That's kind of an uncomfortable prospect if you think this is my last best chance to get a job. If this is my last best chance to get a job, am I going to put it in their hands or am I going to trust mine? I'm not even saying that's the right way to make this decision because, again, ultimately, you've kind of got to genuflect at the altar of the NFL or any establishment.
They hold all the cards.
Yeah, I mean,
and whether you like that or not, unfortunately, that's the case.
Oh, I get it. But again, if I'm gaming it from the guy that's been shown the door by the people who are going to control the outflow of information, I can at least concede, like, man, that's an uncomfortable spot to be in. And I don't, who knows what you feel in that position gives you the best chance going forward.
So I guess my question to that would be, what is your end goal? If your end goal, that's my question.
But I guess that's what I'm saying. The end goal can still be the same. If Colin thought this route gave me a better chance than putting my trust in those people.
Let me ask you that question because that's fair. How do you see this as a better route for him to get back into the league? What happened Saturday?
No, I'm saying
that's where I'm
saying I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I
could
understand why the guy involved in all of this did.
If I guess, I mean, it just seems to me like all he did was give everybody who had doubts the reason to say, see, that's why. See, that's why I don't want to do
I completely agree. I agree with Mike. I agree. In his mind, he thought he was doing the right thing. And he absolutely cut his knees out from under him to get back in this league. I think at the end of the day, both sides, in all honesty, do not like one another. And instead of trying to work this thing out and cross all the T's and dot the I's before you went out on the field, even from Cap's side, if you didn't like the way the NFL came out with it, remember, Cap waited until an hour or two before this to change it, okay? Which, if he wanted to do, that's fine. Why not try and do it during the week? Why not sit down at some point, say, you know what? My goal is to get back in the league. we need to sit down and figure. Somebody needs to be the adult in the room and try and figure this thing out. But to me, there is so much animosity on both sides.
From what we had read, had Colin's camp not reached out to them about a number of these issues along the way, or did I misread a bunch of that?
No, I think they have. But that goes to what you're talking about. This felt rushed from the NFL side to get this out there and let's just get it done and get it over with. So that's problematic for me on the NFL side. Why they chose to rush it through Week 11 on a Saturday seems very bizarre. But look, nothing about the Colin Kaepernick situation is normal. We understand that. We accept that. But for any of these free agents, with the Jets, when they were working out quarterbacks, when everybody got hurt the first couple of weeks, you brought them into the facility. There were no cameras. You worked them out. They provided the receivers. That's the way this works. You could make the argument that everything about Colin Kaepernick is an outlier because of everything that's going on, and I understand that. But if the end result of everything you want is to find a way to get back into the league, none of this helped him. None of it.
No, it didn't help him. But I would even point to that. This situation, even now, even before the lawsuit was made abnormal by the fact that you put it on a Saturday, that you did all these things, like I legitimately looked at this and I said, what is this more of? Because I saw people bringing this up a lot over the weekend that, well, yeah, you might not have access at a Tuesday workout, but if you wanted it to be a Tuesday workout, you could have just made it a Tuesday workout. Instead, Correct. You made it this Saturday dog and pony show, which in my mind can kind of open it up to some of the tenets of a pro day. And pro days, we see wall to wall. I mean, hell, the NFL Network and us cover the hell out of those. There are media broadcasts throughout all of those different things. Right. And so I look and say, well, it wasn't really one and it wasn't really the other. So again, we didn't know what rules we were playing by in all this, and no one did. And in their haste to do this on their terms early in a week, that's the interesting part to me is, what was the NFL thinking in all this? I get it, you're trying to run cover probably for some teams that did want to sign him.
Definitely trying to run cover for teams.
But then the way you go about it only is going to now, like certainly Colin's going to get his detractors and people that understandably point out he hurt his chances of getting back in the league. The NFL is also going to get a renewed round of you don't want Colin around and you did all this. Like there is a lot of negative energy going their way as well. And that's the weird thing. I didn't understand why the NFL would want to open themselves up.
Which is why this was not a PR stunt in any way.
There's no way it was a PR.
There's no good PR.
Where'd you think this went?
Well, and to the point you guys have been making, I understand what you're saying, but if Colin's real objective is to get back into the league, he has to believe he's also getting a fair and equitable chance to do that because he's in a lose-lose situation. The league puts this out and says, hey, this is what we're going to do. Well, if he comes back and says, I don't like those terms, or I don't think you're putting me in the right situation, or I don't believe that this is unbiased, or all of these things which are fair when you have sued a league for collusion, if you're going to turn around and say, hey, he wants to be back in the league, he also has to believe he's getting a fair and legitimate chance. The hurried nature of the way the league set this up would, if I was in his shoes, I would feel like I was being put in every possible situation to fail, and that's not the fair and equitable chance the league's trying to make it out to be.
Couple of things here. What I'm sure you've said this to your kids. My parents have said it to me, and I said it to my kids. Whoever said life was fair.
It's exactly
whoever
right.
said life was
and I
fair.
guess really quickly on the hurried part, I've said this all along. What if he got called last night by a team and said, hey, Tuesday, we need you in our facility? Is that not hurried?
That is, but that's also, but that to the point you've all been making is fair business, normal business operations. The league made this a circus show when they did it the way they did it.
I agree, but I guess my main point on this, if his entire goal was to get back in the NFL, then you got to have people around you as well as you to think, what's my best position? And to think not getting in front of 25 teams, and I know the thought process of, are they going to edit it and put out only the bad throws? There's that much distrust. At some point, you just got to say, you know what? 25 teams are here. I've been working out for 3 years. I'm going to go ball out in front of them and show them that I can still play.
But if you believe that the league has been against you, they've colluded against you to the point that you've sued them and settled, if you believe that they're not giving you the stacked deck, and you know that in this situation, you're Colin Kaepernick, you have everything to lose. If this workout doesn't go well, if they present it in a way that makes it seem like it wasn't good, if you're Colin Kaepernick, you have everything to lose and only one thing to gain. The one thing to gain is to get back in the league. Don't you want to at least make sure, if you're Trey, you're right. Your parents can tell you life's not fair all the time. But if the people that are trying to employ you say, okay, here's your chance, and you think the deck's being stacked against you by a group of people that you've actually taken to court for stacking the deck against you, why would you not want some control of your own outcome?
I mean, you can want all those things.
You can want all the control you want.
All the things you want, but
they don't have to give it to you.
You got to realize what you're going to get.
They don't have to give it to you.
We can want all of these things, but let's be clear. Let's be clear about one thing. The NFL is holding all the cards.
The
here.
NFL
They have
controls
all the
everything.
leverage.
You know,
they have all the leverage.
Colin Kaepernick is going to be a memory to football. He's going to be. I hope he goes out and does great work.
We all think he should be back in the league. Let's not be clear about
what
that.
we do, he's going to be a memory because this chance didn't happen for him.
So what is going to happen? Chris Mortensen, who has been connected with this league for as long as any of us have been alive here, talking about this on the Football Frenzy on what he thinks the outcome of all of this is going to be.
I thought the league looked bad, and then I thought he looked even worse. I was very unimpressed with his workout. You could tell he hasn't been working out every day. And by the way, if you're that serious about playing football again, which I do not believe he is, despite what his agent Jim Nally, who I respect and everything says, and Colin says, because then I'd be having a workout every Tuesday and inviting teams every Tuesday. Because if you are working out, hey, you'll even videotape it since you obviously have the means to videotape it. And I'm working out every Tuesday to show you how serious I am, since you feel awkward inviting me into your building to work on Tuesday. Yesterday, I could tell when he, just watching even before they started the workout, it was a joke. It was a joke to him. Didn't think he threw it that well. And it's been a long time since he's played. And then we then saw some of the reasons why people will certainly justify not signing him, which is simply he is going to be a distraction, period. And you don't know if he can even start.
So it certainly feels like, from Mort's perspective, that call won't be coming.
Which is so interesting from the football analysis of that, because we saw Adam Schefter tweet quotes from a number of executives who said exactly the opposite.
Right.
Like, listen, we respect Mort's opinion as much as anybody,
Without
but
question.
it just shows you kind of what a weird enigma this all
Without
is, because
question.
You see it through a prism you want to see it through.
Exactly, which is again probably always how this was going to go, but for a lot of people, those opinions are going to stay extremely varied.
After all that happened, did anybody think he gets a job?
I don't.
Oh, God, no.
No
shot.
Listen, and it's a shame. It's a shame on both sides, because this was a weird construct from start to finish. We'd never seen anything like this in the NFL. Try to rush this thing forward, and then the backlash from Colin's side. Look, I think he should be playing, but I don't think he's going to be playing because of the way this thing played out. And for him to sit there and say, keep running, he's hurting his. If that's what he wants, he's hurting his own cause.
Both sides at fault here, without
100%.
question. The NFL continues to move on, and Cap's done playing.
I don't think this in any way leads to him being back in the NFL. Coming up, an NFL team that turned back the clock and found a way to ground out a win by using a player who they paid a lot of money to. What a shock. We'll get to that next. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Stay with us.